Let's go ahead and do a quick tutorial on the wedding spreadsheet. Basically, it's like a wedding planner spreadsheet. Helps you to organize your thoughts and helps you to plan your big day. There's a few tabs. So the first tab here goes through the cost, and then we'll go through the guest data. Then we'll go through a to-do checklist that will basically include like a schedule, and that kind of thing. I'm just going to briefly show you the schedule here. It goes into some detail. So, and then there's this holiday tab that is used by the schedule. So as you're making out your plan, you can really kind of go into some detail about what days you're going to take off and things like that. And like I said, briefly, I'll show you the guest data. So we'll briefly go through this guest data. We'll talk about, okay, what meals did they select for the reception and for the main course and for the ceremony, and so you can get a head count and a table, what tables and who's sitting where and who gave a gift and whether you sent a thank you card and then also getting their information and all that kind of stuff, and then also we'll go through some of the costs that are associated with the big day. So let's start off with the first tab here that's talking about the cost. So this table that you see up here is the summary. So for example, the rehearsal dinner here, you say, okay, I set a budget for $3,000. So far I've spent $550. So I've got another $2,450 possibly to go. The amount that I've paid is $300, and so that's the amount unpaid is $250. So basically, when you add these up, you get this $550 right here. That's what that's talking about. So, and again, this rehearsal dinner, you can see it summarized over here. You can see that the light orange is the budget. The darker color is the actual. Same thing for before I go to the ceremony, though, I just want to bump down here to see where this is coming from for the rehearsal dinner. It's coming from this right here. So for your rehearsal dinner, you've got venue costs, food costs, drink costs, and then you can add more in here. If you come up with something, you can just basically insert a row here and add to that. So, and it goes through that for each of the items. So you've got your rehearsal dinner, you've got your ceremony, and so when we bump down here for your ceremony, you've got your venue rental for your ceremony, which will be maybe different. A lot of times is different than your rehearsal dinner. You pay the pastor, and then you can add stuff in, like if you're going to pay like a violinist or or something like that. You can customize this however you need to. The reception here. That would be this next one down here, the reception. So again, you've got a venue rental for that, food, drinks, the wedding cake, and on and on. You can add several things in there for that one. You've got the rings, you've got the day after brunch, you've got the photographer, the videographer, the band, the bride's apparel, groom's apparel, honeymoon, miscellaneous, and again, this is all cost. And over here on the right hand side, you can keep up with who your suppliers are for each of these items. So for example, the venue rental for your rehearsal dinner is going to be Fancy's Restaurants or us. Point of contact is Jane Doe. Her number is 555-123-4567. You can reach her at jdo@fancyrestaurant.com. Here's a note that you're telling yourself, okay, set up a meeting with Jane. I've got to meet her at 3:00. We have to discuss, what I'm going to have on my tablecloths at that day, right? So those kind of things you can do that for each of these. So you're going to have who's going to provide the food for there. This one may not be applicable if the venue itself is providing the food. If you're having a caterer, that'll be a different story. Drinks. And on and on, and so on and so forth for all the different types of things here. So, your engagement ring, who's the point of contact there, your photographer, whenever they do the engagement, photographer at the rehearsal dinner, the ceremony, day after brunch, you're going to hire 3 photographers, have one of them that comes to the engagement, all of them show up to the ceremony. That kind of stuff. You can think through these things and keep track of all of these things right here on this tab. Okay, so now we switch over to the guest data. So for the guest data, basically, let me just go through the summary here. Let me zoom in a little bit here on this chart, and I can zoom out in a bit. So here we're getting a head count. So for the rehearsal dinner, we got the 2 adults, 0 children, 0 infants, and 1 unknown. Okay, and I'll show you in a minute where this data right here is coming from. But basically, this is coming from the data that you entered down here. But so this is just a summary of all those things being added up for you here at the rehearsal dinner. So this is the kind of data that you're going to need. The venue's going to want to know, okay, how many people are you going to have? How many adults you got? How many children? You got any infants or unknown or anything like that? Same thing for the ceremony, reception, the day after brunch. All these places are going to want to know how many people you're going to have there. And like we'll go through in just a second on how this data is collected and how you can give that answer. So then on the reception meal summary, so you've got right here at the reception, say you've got a first course, and you've got these are your choices. These you can change. I threw some data in here just to have something in there, but you can put whatever it is, chili in there. You can put anything you want in there. And when you change that, by the way, if you come down here to this first course, right down here, this is going to now say chili as one of the choices, and you can select that here, okay? But I'm just going to put it back the way it was, put it back to Caesar right here, and then you'll see that when you go to select it, it now says Caesar here, so you can keep track that way. So, and again, when you change this right here, so I'm going to change this to clam chowder. You'll see that clam chowder is going to have a 1 that shows up, and this Caesar is going to go down to 1 when I select it now. Okay, you see how that gets updated right there? Okay, so that's basically kind of how this is going to work. All right, so it keeps track of it that way. Similar thing for the second course right down over here. And the third course right down here is that data is just filled up as you select these items here. So that pretty much takes care of, these types of this box right here. Now, what's telling them whether it's an adult or a child or an infant is this right over here. So you select, whether it's adult or a child or infant, and just as an example, we'll change this one right here to a child. When I do, you'll notice that since this guy had a Caesar, this is going to become a 1, and this is going to become a 1 when I select it now. Okay, so you see how that updated there? Okay, that's how that's working. Okay, and then so that pretty much takes care of this part. Let's go down here and let's really kind of go through a little bit more in detail on these guest details, because this will probably help us for you to understand more of what's happening here in these tables up here. So here you're just collecting the guest data. Who all's coming to your wedding? Who's all or your reception or day after brunch? Who's coming to the rehearsal dinner? All that. Who are your guests? Okay, so I put in some data in here just to see how it works. So you can see, John Doe, he's a party of the groom. You can select either bride or groom here. It's, you say whether this person is an adult, a child, or an infant, and then you say whether this person is going to go to the rehearsal dinner, yes, no, or they haven't RSVP'd. Same thing for ceremony. Are they coming to it? Yes, no, no response. Same thing for the reception. Same thing for the day after brunch. Then on the first course, we kind of saw how that works already with choosing the meal. Second course, similarly, we saw that. Third, similarly. Now here, you can't change the courses right here, by the way. You have to change them over here where we showed over here. And then any food notes, like this person has a dairy allergy, so can't have any dairy there. Then you assign what table they're going to be at. So here you can select, if you have 48 tables, that's a pretty big wedding, right? So, anyway, you can see that for this person, we put them at table 1. So if I put them at table 2, when I do that, this right here number is going to go down to 1. This will go from 0 to 1. I'm going to go ahead and select that now, and you can see that's what happens there. But I'll go ahead and put it back the way it was. And then then we go to, so that way you're assigning what what table they're going to sit at. And as we slide over more, we can see more about the gifts. Did this person bring a gift? Yes or no? What did they give? This person gave a Yamaha dish set, and then you can track whether or not you sent a thank you note to that person. By the way, this selection right here will be summarized over here at the bottom here. So it'll say gifts received. You received 2 gifts because the first 2 guests brought a gift. Yes. The third person did not. So it's telling you got 2 gifts that have been received. And then the thank you notes are summarized here, where it says, yes, I sent this person a thank you note, and no for guests 2 and 3. So you can see you've just got a 1 right here. All right, and then you can see that you've got this person's address here. You've got their phone number, their email, so you can send them those thank you notes. Yeah, so that pretty much covers this guest summary tab. Now the third item here is where you can go into detail as far as tracking the schedule of all the things that you have to do in order to get everything done that needs to be done by your actual wedding date. Okay, so here we say these color cells you can change. Okay, so if it's these dark colors, you can't change it. Over here you can't change any of this stuff. Only these colors right here can you change. All right. And so right in here you put your actual wedding date. All right, so that's where you place that, and then you say whether or not you're going to work on planning your wedding. 5 days a week, 6 days a week, or 7 days a week. And you can see I kind of define it here in the yellow. So the 5 days means you're going to work on this thing Monday through Friday, and that's it. You're taking the weekend off. If you're going to work on it 6 days, it means you're going to be available to do anything you need to do from Monday through Saturday. And you have to take vendors into account whenever you do these things, by the way. And then you say, oh no, I'm going to work 7 days a week on it. So then you would select 7. Okay, so and you just select 5, 6, or 7 that way. If you select 5, what it's going to do is it's going to adjust your schedule to take weekends off. And so these dates that you see in white here, these are going to all be calculated automatically. If you're familiar with a Gantt chart, that's what this is. It's basically a project management tool that people use where you've got a bunch of tasks that have to be done, and sometimes doing one task depends on the other. Meaning you have to, for example, you have to lay the foundation of a house first before you can do the framing. That kind of an idea where you have to do certain things first before you can do the next, and so there's just all these tasks that have to be done. And then so basically you also put here what your start date is going to be. So here is your wedding date when you're going to get married. This one is when you're going to start working on putting the whole thing together. So here the very first item is set a wedding date. Okay, and this is the only date that you can change in this area here. Everything else is automatically calculated based on the other inputs, but this is where you do put when you're going to start on it. And then after so for this first task, then you come over and you say how long it's going to take. For the first one, we said it's not really going to take any time. It's basically 0 days. It's just that's the day. You choose a date and that's it. And then this next column here, I'll come back to these predecessors and everything that you see in here in just a moment. This where it says predecessor and controlling step and type and lag time. I'll cover that in just a moment. This one is a completion status. So if I change it to where like you haven't done it yet, you can see it changes that color back to like that. So it helps you visually to see what you've done and what you haven't done yet. So if I select it, it'll turn gray like that. All right, and then over here where you say 15 excuse me, where you say, okay, 3 Feb. Okay, so you can see basically that 3 Feb is right here. So what you see here is the beginning of this week 1. So it says week 1, it begins on 30 Jan 2023. That's what you see here. And in that first week, it goes from January the 30th, January 31st, and then February the 1st, February 2nd, February 3rd. And now this is where you can see February 3rd happening here. Now, just so you know, if I come in here and I say, oh, actually, this actually happened on the 10th, you'll see it push over, except, I put in 1 instead of 10. So if I put in the 10th, you can see it pushes it all over. You can see all those arrows, they automatically update to let you know. So for example, these arrows, like this particular arrow right here, this is letting you know that you have to do this first before you can do this item here. That's what the arrows are telling you. And you can see a lot of things basically start from the first one there. You that happens, and then that starts a lot of things, and then as you move on, other things control, like for example, you can see here you have to do this, and then you can do these other things that are attached to it. So that's kind of what's happening, but we'll cover that a little more in detail in just a moment here. So all right, so let's go to the next item here. So this says, okay, set your budget. So basically sit down and put your costs together that we did on the first tab there. Okay, and then you've got a duration. This is whenever you're planning, you're like, okay, this is going to take me 3 days to do that. All right, so you give yourself 3 days to do this, to come up with all the costs and all that stuff. And the controlling step means this is what has to be done first before you can do this task. So what this means is that, like, number 1 is this number 1 right here. So yeah, so like you see this number 1 right here, this controlling step is talking about this step over here, number 1, what this is. And then number 1 is setting a wedding date. So what this means is that before you can set a budget, you have to set the wedding date. All right, now like like for example, like if I jump down here to 3 and I say, okay, instead of the controlling step being 2, like you see how the arrow here is coming from 2, step 2 here. For this one, you can see it's coming from 2. Now, if I change this to 1, you're going to notice that this arrow is going to come back. This is going to attach right here, and then that's going to allow this task to pull back, and that's actually going to change some things. But anyway, let me make the change and let you see it. So if I change it to 1, you can see it pulled it back, and that arrow goes back up here to let us know, oh, okay, that can actually happen sooner because it doesn't depend on 2, it depends on step 1. All right, so that's what's happening here with these controlling steps, and letting us know, okay, what has to be done first, and before I can do this step, which one do I have to do first? Okay, hopefully that makes sense. Now, you have 2 options here for the type. So FS means finish to start, and SS means start to start. So what that means, though, and that these are common industry terms for project management, especially when using putting together a schedule or putting together so that's just the terminology that's used. So basically, though, what it means is a lot of times finish to start is what a lot of times it needs to happen. So for example, I'll go back to my house building example. So before you can start doing the framing, you have to finish the foundation. And so that would be a finish to start relationship. But there might be some relationships that would be start to start. So one example of that might be that, say that you could start installing the cabinets at the same time that you install the windows, for example. Then that would be then you could possibly set up a start-to-start relationship between those two, because they can be done at the same time. Okay, so anyway, but now if I did make this a start-to-start, you'll see how it pulled back the the task here to the left. Now, what this lag time though is telling us is that really, if this lag, all right, so I'm going to make the lag time 0, and hopefully it'll make sense. All right, I make it 0, and it basically brought it right back to start to start. So a start to start relationship with item 2, and it starts the exact same day. All right, so I started task 3 the same day I started task 2, and so I started 3 when I started 2, start to start relationship. Now, a lag time means you're going to delay this task by however many days you put here. If I put 1 day, it's going to say, yeah, you can start this task whenever you start this one, but wait a day. At least wait 1 day before you start on this one. So that's why you see it pushing it out here a little bit. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and put this back to finish to start and just let it push it over there. Okay, so that's basically I've basically gone through all of these. So now these dates will automatically update based on, like, say if I really move this to, like, say May or something, you'll notice that when I hit enter, this is going to change this first deal week 1 to sometime in May. So I'm gonna hit enter. You can see that it went ahead and updated it here to May as my first week. Now, I want you to notice that I get this little thing up here, this little warning. Hey, you need to adjust some inputs so that achievable wedding date is before actual wedding date. So what this is talking about is, you can see right here, this says achievable wedding date. So, and that is, this achievable wedding date is happening after your actual wedding date. You don't want that to happen. But this is letting you know that that the way that the schedule and the relationships are set up, this is just the soonest that it can be done under these conditions of all these different things. Hire the photographer. It depends on 16 being done, and this takes 5 days and all that. and so these just automatically calculating when are you going to be done with this project, and when are you going to be, what's the soonest you can achieve this wedding date. And this, if it goes beyond the actual wedding date, it gives you this warning up here, and it says, hey, you got to look at the way you're doing this and see if you can basically tighten some stuff up. So, like, you might have to go, and instead of taking 14 days to buy your wedding dress, you might have to do it in 10, and you might have to go through and start making some different adjustments of what you can do faster to try to make sure you have enough cushion in there to meet your deadline. All right, so we'll just bring this back to, say, March. I'm going to change this to March here. You'll see that it's going to re-update this week 1 for you. Started on March 10th. You can see that's when it's starting here, and then it goes on, and the warning went away because it's saying that you've given yourself basically almost a month of cushion here. Or what the industry calls float, and so it's saying you can achieve it you'll have everything done and in place by April 18th at the soonest under these conditions, and that gives you almost a month before May 15th. So that's pretty good. All right, hopefully this is a pretty good explanation of what this is all talking about, and hopefully you find this tasks, what I've got in here, useful. So, going through a few of these, you've got, set a wedding date, set a budget, confirm with dad or other who's going to be paying the budget items. Hopefully your dad's going to be bankrolling that. Then you got your book the rehearsal dinner, book the wedding venue, book the reception venue. Oh, but I didn't want to forget to tell you, I also have, so what you're looking at right now is a Gantt chart for when you're planning basically a long-term event. So something that could take months, years, or weeks, days, something that's, you're planning, you're doing a bunch of tasks, to do something over the long term, right? So you, like in this case, maybe you'll work on it for like a year, or say if you're doing something for 2 years, you could use this sheet for doing, a couple months. I also have a Gantt chart, and I'm going to try to put a link to it on this website. that basically is a Gantt chart for one-day events. So, and a wedding seems like a good opportunity to use something like that. You've got a lot going on. You've got caterers possibly bringing their stuff, bringing their equipment. They've got to be loaded in at a certain time, and maybe that venue is being used the night before by someone else, or and they've got to move out, and maybe you've got an opportunity to move your stuff in, and when are they going to arrive, and then you got your florist, and what's their window, and a lot of things can happen. A lot of things have to happen for one-day events, and and anyway, that's a perfect opportunity. I don't want to take too much time talking about it. I plan to just mention it to you, let you watch the video on that if you want, see if that's something you can use also for your one-day event here. Okay, what else is on here? Yeah, so we can go through a little bit more here. So you've got create a guest list, search internet for wedding ideas, think about insurance for the engagement ring, and then I've got just some placeholders in here to let you put other stuff in here. You can basically replace this with other items if you want. Pick a theme for the wedding dress. Excuse me, not the wedding dress. Pick a theme for the wedding. Pick colors for the wedding. Save the date request. Hire a planner. Hire a pastor. Buy wedding dress. Get fit for the wedding dress. Select bridesmaid. Select the groomsmen. Book after brunch menu, and then placeholders. You can put more in there. Hire a caterer. Book a limo. Hire a makeup artist. Hire a photographer and videographer. Decide decorations and hire florists. Hire musicians. Choose the master of ceremonies, set up the table, chairs rentals, set up the honeymoon, set up dresses for bridesmaids, set up tux, and on and on. Set up outfits for others, reserve hotel rooms for out-of-town guests, take engagement videos, buy groom's ring, make a website for the wedding, set up gift registers, buy invitations, send invitations, order wedding gifts, set up bachelor party, set up bachelorette, order the cake, more items. Okay, so this goes down for like more than 100 items down here that you can work through. So, okay, so hopefully this helps you to know how to work this spreadsheet. I hope you see some value in it. I'm sure you do. It's quite useful. So, all right.